Good evening, Dimitro, not Dmitry, and this is a very important thing. Dimitro, you are in Kyiv. Today, yes. Kyiv suffered heavy bombings again from the Russian. Somebody says it's because the most important ship, the Moscow, was sunk. I have a set of questions for you, but let's start from today. Today is Holy Saturday for the Christians. It's the day that commemorates Jesus Christ lying in his tomb after the crucifixion. It is the day between his death and the day before his resurrection. But today, for the first time in 30 years, is also Ramadan. Today is the second night of the Pesach, which for the Jewish people of Israel commemorates the Exodus from Egypt. So it's about liberation from slavery. But the world is full of tension again in Palestine, in Jerusalem, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, and we continue on and on with this list. I decided to talk to you, and I thank you for this, because you're in a very special situation. Because I started this set of conversation called War as Reset. And I truly believe we cannot be neutral. We cannot be neutral for many things. And I stand with Ukraine, because Ukraine is Europe. And this war is different than the others, because it is a very European conflict. How are you, first of all?
Thank you, Stefano. It's really, I'm very appreciate talking with you, and I'm really, it's a big pleasure, and I think you make a very important job, I think, and you try to interest a lot of things around the world, what's going on, yes. And with pleasure, I try to make some answer for you. Yes, our Orthodox church, our Orthodox Easter, it's the next, yes, the next.
Not this weekend.
But you know, look, what I'm doing now, I'm just telling my situation, my position, yes, now. Maybe you know I'm a veteran of war, and I was called to the army in 2015. Yes, and I served 1 year. I'm not a volunteer, but I should go, and I served like a doctor, like a battalion doctor, and now I'm also proposed my service for army, but you know, it's a big pleasure that a lot of young doctors now exist in our medical service, and I'm just serving in the territorial defense system. This also some part of our system of defense, yes, but this is just territorial. It's south of Kyiv. Yes, I'm staying not in Kyiv, I'm staying 30 kilometers near Kyiv. We have an office in Kyiv with my wife, Oksana Zaleskyi, and in ordinary days, we just traveling to our job, but now I'm staying here, and my wife staying in Ljubljana with Tina Papic family, and now I'm very pleased to him. He offered his service for that, offered his help, and I'm very appreciative of that. And now I'm staying here, and I'm working in some kind of like a mobile hospital. We have a car, then we have the volunteer activity. And I'm training people who going to serve in army also and going to serve in defense system of the first aids, tactical medicine. I'm very good trainer, I think, you know, that's just one thing I could do good, you know, like in Jungian also. Not so many things I could do better than that. And I teach people just for this simple rules, yes. And that's my and I'm keep my practice.
Oh.
I'm keep my practice, but reduce practice to different reason. You know, I have such experience to reduce practice when I'm serving first time. Yes, that was a really very very special experience, I think, because, you know, how I manage it. I think if you're interested, maybe I tell you about that. And now it's I'm a little bit ready for such kind of situation, and but I'm keep my practice, of course, online. I have not physical offline meeting, of course, but it's okay. That's my activity now.
I met your wife and your kids 2-3 weeks ago in Ljubljana, and I would like to say to your kids something I wanted to tell them, especially to the eldest one, that they can be proud of you and all of the Ukrainians that are defending their country, because overnight, from ordinary people, medical doctor, a psychoanalyst, you had to become a soldier. I have a patient, a Ukrainian patient, who told me 2 weeks ago, last month, 2 months ago, killing was illegal. Now it is a must. And you actually said the same when, more or less a month ago, we had a big reunion of Jungians through analysis and activism talk. There was your rifle. So this is the situation where you are in. Can you tell us your daily routine? You already said something. What time do you wake up? What do you do in the morning? Do you go with your rifle as well with your battalion? Because, you know, we have newspapers, we have TV, but we read and we see a lot of bullshit. I call it media voyeurism or media bulimia. It would be very important to hear from you that you are 30 kilometers from Kyiv. What is really happening, especially in your case?
Mm-hmm. Look, I'm just forgot some point about Catholic. Yes, my you know, I'm working with my neighbor. My neighbor, he's a Polish man. His wife it's Ukrainian, and she's now in Poland. And we're working together because that his car, the big one, the big
van.
Yeah. Yes, van, the big van, and he working like a driver and like a medical, like a paramedic. Yes.
Yeah.
That because yes, tomorrow I also have a celebrating, and he's enough religion man, and he came to the Kostiol. We have a monastery here, Catholic monastery, Roma Catholic, and he have been in service, and yesterday and tomorrow also, yes, and celebrated that. We have a international team. In our team, I have one person who is from my village, from Dmytro. Another person, he's from Azerbaijan guy, young boy, young, very young, but he's a very, very talent, and I teach him. That's our team. And mostly what we're doing, we preparing, and we try to provide first of all evacuation. That's our task, to provide evacuation for people who have some injury, some trauma, and so on, so and so. You know.
Civil or soldiers?
What?
Civil, soldiers or civil as well? Anyone?
All of them. Without, you know, we have the Hippocrates rules. We help everybody. And you know, our area, thanks God, we are it's enough quiet comparatively with the west of Kyiv. West of Kyiv, it's very close, and that's, you know, this terrible place, Bucha, Irpin, Gostomel, Borodyanka. I have been there 3 days before, and I'm visiting my father. He's staying in some village there, and we also I'm watching by my eyes all of that. That's really terrible, and it's a lot of destruction, a lot of black metal, you know, this special color. And I could see the civil car with a lot of bullet holes, and you know, and the burning technique from Russia. A lot of burning technique. Panzer, burning machines. It's a lot of there, you know, and you know, it's really live in some, I think, special kind of psychological state. You know, I have some idea. I'm not ready to talk about more wider, but I think it's a good idea, and Jungian idea, if we talk about my state, about state of my mate, not about the term of like post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes.
This was my next question, so please go ahead.
Yes.
My question would have been, what is your mood? How do you feel? What is the morale of your brigade? You know.
Yes. You know? Look. I think all of us, not only me, my colleagues who staying in Kyiv, for example, we have a lot of colleagues in my group, Jungian group, they staying in some region of Kyiv just under attack, in the left bank of Kyiv, in Obolon, they have attacks and they have alarm every 2 days, 1 day, very often now, especially after this marvelous event about this leadership of the Russian fleet. It's very symbolical event, and not only symbolical, it's very useful for our defense, because it's a really serious dangerous from this ship. Yeah. Okay. I try to come back to this idea. Yes, idea about some post-traumatic stress disorder. That's a very typical approach. But you know, how I understand when we talk about psychosis, for example, and how I understand Jungian way, we talk not about the psychosis in a diagnostic way. We talk about psychosis like some our part inner part of our wholeness. Yes, everybody have some psychotic part. Yes, I mean that. Yes, and we talk about some psychotic state more than about psychotic structure. Yes, in my point, it's and in this situation, I think it's also maybe I also prefer to speak about some kind of post-traumatic stress state. You know, but I'm not. Doesn't mean that this is now. Now I think we are on the traum, just like on the traum. I mean, and that's a special state, like when we are traumatized now. Yes, like, but time to time, yes, I think we goes to in some another situation when we could resolving and maybe digesting what's going on now, and it looks like a post-traumatic state. It's a very, in my point, it's very special state, and it's not a disorder, but sometimes it looks like a disorder. But the meaning of this state, it's very positive. It's our way of resilience, to make resilience of the trauma. Yes, and we behave like post-traumatic stress disorder. Yes, but the difference is that this is state, if I have some space for that, if I have people who could be resilience for me, and could be a container for my state, you know, this situation helped me goes not to disorder but to the normal situation. Yes, it's like a two-way place. Yes, like in fairy tales, goes to the left, goes to the right, you know. In my point, it's something like that.
What you're trying to say is that the resilience is helping you to keep on. Let me ask you a very straightforward question, but you don't need to answer. You know, we Jungians always ask, how do you feel? How did you feel? What is the emotion that dream inspired, or what is the emotion that dream brought you? How did you feel when you were in Bucha and you saw what the Russian did?
I couldn't be especially in the Bucha, but I have been just near. That's, you know, I have some metaphor about that. Maybe it's not direct way. Yes,
it's okay. It's okay.
Yes. Now I have a training to the tactical medicine. Yes, and I told people about when the bullets go to the chest. Yes, we have the situation pneumothorax. You know that term? Yes, maybe some Jungian doctors know about that, but pneumothorax, it's situation when our chest open like some hole. Yes, and if you try to breathe, you have a situation when your pleura space became to the also inflamed. Yes, and in every, if the pneumothorax it's with a tangent pneumothorax, when you breathe every time you breathe, you have less and less space for breathing. It's very dangerous state. It 5-7 minutes for life if nobody help you professionally or paramedical way. Yes, and you know, it's something what I'm feeling in psychological way, because you know, I feel very strong feeling when I'm working with my client. I understand that I'm not survived more than 35, 40, 45 minutes. I have a session 45 minutes with client. And I feel physically that for me, it's really difficult to walk this last, maybe 30 minutes I could walk, but the last 15 minutes, I feel myself like some tension, like every minute I just watch to the you know, to the clock. You know, all of us watch to the clock, but this is a different situation. I understand that I did it without any connection with situation with client, with patient, with all patient. It happened. You know, I understand that something happened with me. It's like in pneumothorax, but I mean, it's my containing function became close, became reduct, became more narrow, something like that, and it provoked me also to change my style of practice, because my patient mostly also traumatized, yes, but different way. And I try to change my practice very individually way, with different people, different way. But the goal and most idea, I'm a change analytical attitude. First of all, I can't analyze it, but it's not connected to the dreams. People working with dreams with pleasure, and we have a lot of dreams now, and my patient have enough dreams. Maybe first week of this war, it was lucky of dreams. It was such, I remember such effect. It was such effect. But a little bit later, a lot of dreams became, not a lot of, but like normal percentage, yes, normal level. But mostly in this situation, I never I never analyzed, for example, transfer some dynamic or something like that. All this analytical stuff, I lost possibility to do that, because my analytical style, it's very orientated to transference, contransference, but that's absolutely not exist now. It's mostly it's more supportive way, and that's like just I know, just to be with my patient. It's very important, and some of them just keep me by distance, but all time checking how in what place I am. Yes, just checking, and I understand for them it's also important that I'm staying. And of course, I have some also different difficulties with working with client in this way, but this is a real deep change. I'm lost my analytical position. That's the most, and that's a connect with my feeling also. I understand that it's also some kind of a challenge to my professional position. What I'm doing, am I analyst or who am I on, you know, and that's a big question now. And another, maybe just about my feeling also. I hope our interview could watch some important people for me. For example, Martin Vala, because he Francois Martin Vala. He writes some paper to like he's tried to discuss with our colleagues about some position about Russians. Yes, you want to start about that also, we talk about that. And that's like, you know, that's so funny. I don't know, that's very special feeling, because I respect Francois very much and love him like a friend, like a teacher, like a master, like a lot of way. And I love his paradoxical thinking and his ability for deep feeling and inspecting that. And you know, maybe if you know him, I think you agree with me. But it's a very strange feeling when I read what he say, what he write. He write by 1 point. I'm agree with 3 point. I'm not agree with 4. I feel myself like my pneumothorax became also narrow and narrow, because he tried to analyze us, you know. But my colleagues tried to write the ordinary letter, but it's not ordinary letter. It's a scream.
You're referring to letters.
Francois, you should listen the scream. It's scream.
Let me clarify for those that are listening to us. There has been a conversation between Jungians, especially among a certain group of Jungians, where you were included, where the president of the Ukrainian development group is included. Her name is Ina. I will interview her in the next few days, and she showed a very long letter about what is going on. And she's not the only one. There are other colleagues of yours. And Francois responded, as you said. That's why I wanted to talk to you, and that's why I want the Ukrainians to talk to me, to conversate about these. Let me ask you this now that we are there. Because there's been a development. And the reason I call this conversation War as a Reset is because, you know, I wrote a collection of poetry in 2006. There was already a lot about Putin, Russia, and Ukraine. I didn't know. I didn't remember. You know, Yanukovych, Yanushenko, then the first problems, then the Maidan in 2014, which means freedom. Yeah. What was all that about? For me, 2006, 8, Maidan is really the wish for Ukraine. And I said this into all my conversation about War as a Reset. The wish, Ukrainian, to be able to self-determine themselves. I said this to you a month ago, not only to go west for BMWs, Hollywood, or McDonald's, but to self-determine themselves, to be part of Europe, and to have the following traits, as Jürgen Habermas and Jacques Derrida underline, as a consequence of the invasion of Iraq. They made a study about what binds Europeans together, and they said a political mentality different from the American one, based on some common trait. An aversion to the use of force, first of all, and therefore an insistence on law and respect for international legality. Support for a global system based on liberal multilateral institutions on human rights, fruit of past inspired by opposite principle and characterized by centuries of bloody carnage. Precisely, this mentality had to push Europe to build a foreign and security policy anchored to the EU, overcoming the stupid and simplistic opposition between war and peace. I feel this is why you are fighting since so many years, for these values. And this is why I want to talk to you and to our Ukrainian colleagues to really understand, without philosophizing so much, analyzing too much, what is really going on.
Look, but this story about this war, it's starting not just our time. No, Ukrainian never stopped make a war with Russia. Never stop. Every generation fighting with Russia. Different way. That's a huge part of our history. I think you have in the West the same situation between French and German, for example, or French and British, or, you know, when there's a long, long history of war. We have the same, the long history of war. But the big difference is for our situation that an European for us, it means not imperial, you know. And, you know, and USA, it's a big question about imperial, you know. It's not, of course, it's democracy, but, you know, it's all this conversation. Some imperial traits the USA maybe need, maybe have, I don't know. But Russia it's just a last huge empire with imperial thinking. And the most important thing you said, yes, about in our relation with Russia, we have not any subjective position. We are object. They couldn't understand us like somebody different. They talk about us like a same nation. That because for us it's fantastically important to have some border with Russia. And this border not only by ground, it's border also between people, between organization, between language, between cultural, you know, and so and so and so. Because Russian invasion, it's a traditionally, it's a hybrid invasion in the different level, you know, and that's sometimes that happened absolutely not consciously. It's unconsciously. It's like a unruling situation, you know. And the same situation we have in our society also, because after the beginning of the war, I mean in 2014, after that, in Avignon, we create the new society, Ukrainian society. And in this society have been a lot of Russians, a big percent of Russians, yes? And this is my...
And as far as I understand, the official language was Russian, not Ukrainian.
What?
And as far as I understand, in that moment, the official language of the association, or the language that you all use, was Russian, not Ukrainian.
No, not. That's also difference. Our developing group mostly using Ukrainian language. It's not Russian. It's not prohibited, but 80% actively we developing and using Ukrainian translation, Ukrainian language. That's our mainstream. It's our strategy, and a lot of young people came to us, especially also they. It's a huge value for them now, but the UJA also they have not any chance to use mostly Ukrainian, because they have people who does not understand Ukrainian language. Yes, it's part of them, and that's a real big problem. And this is one of my biggest mistake in my professional life, because I in 2015 in Avignon happened a little bit later.
17, I think.
17, yes. I how maybe it's I try to say that correctly. I made a mistake because I'm agree with IAAP officers. They persuaded me to take part and support this organization. And this, for me, it was really huge and bad compromise. And I think IAAP officers also made a big mistake, because now we have a very strange hybrid organization. Yes, and maybe you know, and you understand why I'm using this word hybrid, because it's a strong word, I think, and I think we should talk about that. But look, the situation now, it's very strange. For example, we want to create the next second Jungian Analytical Society in Ukraine. And now we should ask permission. Yes, we should ask permission to IJA, to Russian colleagues, Ukrainian society, if we want to. Yes, you understand?
This is exactly the future. That is hybrid, as you said, where there will be splits and polarization between pro-Russian or pro-Ukraine or Russian-speaking and Ukrainian-speaking. So very polarized future. How do you feel about Russia and the Russian nowadays?
We didn't think about them. Truly saying, saying we don't think about them. It's not our. We didn't care about. We don't care about them. That's maybe right. We talk about that all time, but we are not interesting Russian colleagues now. Sorry.
No, I'm not talking about the Russian colleagues. I'm talking about Russia as a nation and Russian peoples. Let's forget about the Union.
Look, that's of course, that's a very difficult to feel this tension, because it's a lot of angriness, a lot of hates. Like, of course, you could imagine. We have the lot of emotion about that, and joking, and, you know, and so and so. And you know, this if we come back to this situation with especially my colleagues and Russian colleagues, that's my personal, very personal feeling and very personal attitude, because I never tell nobody publicly. Yes, I want to tell you, because it's an interview you could ask me about. And I just want to tell you some secret, analytical secret.
But this interview will be shared on YouTube.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
It will be listened to everyone.
Yes, Stefano. No, but now I have a situation when a lot of years, after a lot of years, we could talk about that. What do you think? How many people in this UAJ organization is my student and my client, my personal? What do you think?
You're asking me?
Yes. What do you fantasize?
I have no idea, but I think many. You are a very visible person.
100%, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe just 1 or 2 or 3% haven't experienced with me the big, long-term work. Maybe just, but all of them, they really have some part of identity from me. You know, I'm never tell anybody, and they also never talk about that. That's also, it's you know, that's a very special relation. You know, it's that's because maybe I want to presenting the paper in Argentina about master and apprentice archetype. I mean, master and apprentice relation. You know, because I think it's a big mistake if we using this metaphor Abel and Cain. You know, we heard that all time, that relation between Russia and Ukraine, it's like Cain and Abel, like a Bible legend, but it is not. We are not brothers. We absolutely not brothers. Our relation much more complicated. And in my point, maybe it's much more good metaphor to use. It's master and apprentice, you know, because
or because it's also passage, master and slave.
No. You mean the master is Russia? No, master is Ukraine, because we are ancient nation, more ancient, and you know that's the system mistake, because Russians never think about Ukraine like a more ancient nation. You know, that's like yes, that's a hybrid some thinking, like Ukrainians not exist, but before it's a Kyiv, Russia it was, and after that, you know, that's some very strange trick. And you know, all of us Soviet people in my childhood, all of us live in this mythology, you know. And the same situation with my colleague here, because my Russian colleagues, they also some of them my student, and I'm a teacher for them, yes, and I have a good relation to them, really, and we have not contact, and I think now our relation is broken, but my attitude, it's okay, we are not a personal hating, absolutely, you know. But I couldn't understand why they keep their positions there, because, you know, we have a lot of quarrel, lot of fight, lot of argue, but they just keep silent and just watching what's going on around them. Yes, no position, no statement, nothing. Yes, and now I understand that IAAP became active, yes, or I don't know, you told about some letter from Yuja, but I couldn't read any statement, any position. It's just words, but how about your position to the war, to the what's going on in the country, to the future? I don't know. I think this, I'm really appreciate that you try to talk about that, because, you know, it's for me, it's a really very personal and heavy burden. Yes, yes.
I mean, your anger is really clear from your words, because you are where you are right now. There are bombing in this very moment, and what is your vision? How things, not about the Jungians, but your really subjective position. How is this going to evolve? What do you think?
Just build what we just continue to do what we did, just develop our Jungian society, and just our own, I mean, with our culture, with our history, with of course with connection with world Jungian. That's our way. It's
Dimitro,
and we should investigate it ourselves. That's just
and on the ground, you as a military line now, with the Russians that are repositioning, you are defending. What do you think is going to happen?
You want to now situation very slowly, but change it more and more to our victory. Yes, I hope very much. But you know about this crazy government, and also big percent of crazy people in Russia, really big. And you know about the nuclear weapon also, and that's a special state of mind, because all of us think about that different way, and you know, and we feel some, like, in percentage. If we started to win, you could understand that possibility and of nuclear attacks also grows up. If we have a better situation of our ground situation on the front line, you know.
How do you feel about Europe? Do you think Europe is doing enough?
Now it's much more better. Yes, we are very angry about the position of Europe a little bit before, and we are also understand that you know, nobody believed that we could stand against Russia so long time. Yes, you know that we also talk about that, and that's and in the beginning we have just a weapon for partisan war, you know, but now we have a better weapon, and now we have a huge resource of very motivated soldiers, because you know this territorial defense people, they feel a little bit better with the weapon. Yes, now because we are a democratic country, you know, that's our huge privilege, and Putin and their government, they couldn't understand that, because they couldn't understand how our government just believe to people and give people the weapon just for self-organization. And that was a really good decision. Of course, we have some firefox, yes, some friendly fire in the beginning, yes, we have that also. But this group of people, it's the most important resource for our professional military army. Yes.
No. I
And
think
that means we have now we have some some new West weapon that's very, very useful and on the time, and we have enough motivated soldiers, and we have much more better situation. I hope we will win this fight.
I truly hope so. I would like to close. Yesterday, during the Via Crucis, the Pope dedicated it to this conflict. And at the 13th step, or the 13th stop at the Via Crucis, that is when the body of Christ, dead Jesus, is given back to his mom, Maria. There were two women, and I'm reading from an Italian newspaper, two friends, actually, Irina and Albina. One is an Ukrainian nurse, and one is a doctor, or doing a specialization in a Russian doctor doing specialization in Rome. They're friends, and they were holding the cross together. Usually, when there is a stop, there is a voiceover telling what happened. Yesterday, there was silence, and the speaker said, "In front of death, silence is stronger than any war." There are many images like these two women holding the cross together. Do you foresee any reparation or any possible holding a cross together in the future?
Not this way.
It's too much and too early, right?
It's not. It's really not this way, because you know it's a situation when, for me, it's very difficult to explain that, and we have this problem. Yes, that's really difficult to explain. But especially in this situation, I feel my lung like strict, like I feel this pneumothorax, you know, and for me it's very difficult to explain about that. I understand that that's from Russia colleagues, and not only colleagues from Russia, some people who have some West approach and liberal position, they want to hold us sometime, but that's, you know, it's a big risk that we are not only push themselves, we could even beat themselves, because, you know, I understand that's a very difficult situation. For us now, it's we feel themselves like a cowards, you know, because we know what that mean goes to the Maidan, to stand by against government, against police, against everything. We know that very well. We know how this is terrible, how frightening, and we feel themselves like cowards, you know. I understand that it's not good to blame people this way. I understand very good. I understand that position of Francois Martin Valla also in this point, yes, and Andrew Samuels maybe, I don't know, but because they not covered. Andrew and Francois never been a coward.
No.
Yes.
I know Andrew very well.
But they try to understand. For us, it's a little bit too much and too late, or too early.
Well, it's too late for the Maidan, but it's too early for everything that comes.
Yes, yes.
I would like to end this thanking you. And this is why I wanted to tell to your son, you should be proud of your dad. You know what? Because we Western Europeans, a month ago, 2 months ago, if we were asked, would you stand up and defend your country? Just people would laugh and say, what the fuck are you saying? But you are teaching with courage and integrity that is again a new, unfortunately, time to defend freedom. And that we shouldn't delegate freedom. Because as Eric Fromm said it in 1941, if we delegate freedom, those that get freedom from us will become authoritarian leaders.
Yeah, true. It's true. Yes, yes. You know, even for the simple people in Ukraine, it's very clear that we are now more democratic and more European than European. Yes,
Oh,
and
yeah.
sometimes yes, and that's because near Martin Valla house, I have been in the Museum of Revolution, French Revolution, in Grenoble. And I understand it's a big distance between revolutionary France and modern France. It's a huge distance. Of course, France have this culture and more than we are, but we are closer than the real fighting for democracy. Because if you ask me, or if you ask some of us, could we die for democracy? Yes, I think this could be the question. It could be very directly. And a lot of my friends, they could ask, they can ask just yes, you know, that's true. And that's, I mean, my friends who is, it's now they sometimes staying in the line, first line of this war. Thank you, Stefanites. I'm very appreciate your interview, and I want to share my feeling and my heart with all Jungians who watching this interview, and I hope IAAP also need some changes, because the world and the world around us changed very fast. And I think we should think about all this conflict on the planet like some example and challenge for us also, because like organization we also became not only mature but also old, and we should think about some new way transformation and so on. So, and maybe Stefano, for me, you're some guy who presenting this approach. Really.
I don't know about that. I just feel we have a moral duty. Personally, it's also my story, my personal history, you know. I would like to conclude with a poem by an Italian poet who died 15, 20 years ago, Giovanni Raboni. He said, he called this poem Foreign Policy. I'm translating it from the Italians, I know it by memory. It says, if you don't want that what happened to you will also happen to others, stand up and speak. In your case, stand up actually is fighting. Thank you, Dimitro, and good night.
Thank you, Stefano. Good night.